Okay, we're going to do the portals and subscriptions class now. We tried to do it yesterday, but the board office was having internet issues, so I'm just going to record this and then it'll be in two parts, each about 40 minutes. So when we're talking about portals and subscriptions, what we're going to talk about is basically tiers of support. And so I've talked about this before, but I want you to think of when you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with 3 tiers of support. And so what do I mean by this? Well, tier 1, this is a manual email. You meet someone, like you run into someone at an open house or at Walmart, and they want you to send them some listings. They're looking for certain search parameters. So you fire off some listings. What that means is you are doing all the work. And a lot of times when I travel around the country training, people will say, well, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning to send my clients listings. And I'm thinking, why? Like the system can do the work for you. Well, what is that? That's the tier 2. That is the saved search and subscription. So with the saved search and subscription, you do a search for your client, and then you set up a subscription inside of FlexMLS, basically saying, okay, this is what my client wants. Do a search with these search parameters, and when there are new listings or price changes or status changes, fire off an email. And so for a subscription, new listings are going to show up in about 10 minutes, and then price changes and status changes are usually about between 2 to 5 minutes. So you're doing a little bit of work, but at tier 2, the save, search, and subscription, basically the system is doing the work for you. That is a good thing. So ideally you want to have that as your basis, is always doing at least a save, search, and subscription, this kind of tier 2 level of support with your clients. Now, tier 3 is a portal. A portal is a website your client can log into, tell you what they like, what they don't like. You get to view these things. It's live, up-to-date information. So basically, tier 3 is your client is doing all the work. And this is a good thing because your clients are basically searching anyways. A lot of times when you assign a client, that person has already been searching for 2, 3, 4 months on other sites. So the purposes of this class is we're going to break down each tier of support. I'm going to show you how it works inside of FlexMLS. And then I'm going to show you how you can combine different tiers or maybe kind of change the order that you're used to. I'll show you, for example, how you can set some up with a portal, just a portal right away, let them play around with it, and then you can reach back out to that client and say, hey, this looks like what you're interested in. Do you want me to set you up a search and just subscription? So the subscription basically becomes a reminder to go back into the portal, and it will notify them about those new listings or those price changes. So we're going to start with the first tier of support. So to do that, we need to actually do a search. So I'm going to click on a quick search. And we've already done searching classes, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through here. So I'm going to keep this really, really simple. I have a client, the name of Wicked Work, and he is fascinated with bedrooms. So Wicked Work was the Ewok, the main Ewok in the 3rd Star Wars movie. So little man loves his bedroom. So he's looking for 7-bedroom places. So what are we going to do with the first tier of support? Well, let's say I meet him at Walmart or at Bass Pro Shops. I have my realtor name badge, and he's like, yeah, just send me some listings. I want to see what's going on. He's in vacation in Florida. Okay, so how do we do just a manual email? Very, very simple. I'm going to go up to email right here. And I have the option to do either the interactive version or the printer friendly. Printer friendly basically looks like a printed sheet of paper on the computer, where the interactive looks more like FlexMLS. So I'm going to choose the interactive version. And I'm going to add a new contact, Wicked W. Work, and his email will be stickywicket77@yahoo.com. And I'm going to click on save. So I've added a new contact here right from the screen. Now you can do the same process from mobile, and we'll talk about that when we're doing the portal in the second half of the class. So you might not have your laptop with you, probably not at Bass Pro Shops. So you would pull up your phone, you could add that contact, and then you would email them listings by sharing. And then I'm just going to put in some basic information. Here are the 7-bedroom listings we talked about. Let me know if you are interested in any of them. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fire off this email. Click on email. So what have I just done? I emailed him these 11 results. So this is a one-time thing. Now what that means is, okay, well, there's 11 results right now. There could be a new listing with those 7+ bedrooms that shows up later today. He's not going to get that because I'm doing just the manual email, that tier 1 of support. It's requiring me to do all the work. So if I was the kind of person, okay, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning and do searches for my clients and then manually send them listings, I would have to continue to do that. If you have only a couple of clients, that's fine. But if you have a lot of clients, you don't want to do this manually. So I've emailed him some manual listings. Now, what I'm going to do is these emails are going to go to an actual email address, and I'm going to pull up the emails throughout the class to show you what they look like, and maybe if you want to customize things. So this, I really want you to get away from this, because when you start to use the portal, what's great about this is any listings that meet the search parameters, once you save the search, they're going to always be in that portal. These 11 listings, I fire them off to him. He's going to be able to take a look at them, but that link will expire within 30 days. So after 30 days, he's not going to be able to access that link. And also, if I'm doing this manually, I have to continue to do it manually. So it just creates a lot more work that is necessary. The MLS software with FlexMLS has evolved to make your job a lot easier, make it a lot more efficient. So usually what I do when I teach with realtors is I don't do anything with manual emails. I will combine a save search with the portal. And so when I do the save search in the portal, they'll see these original 11 listings automatically in the portal. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, when you save a search and subscription, let's say I save the search and subscription, these 11 results do not go out in the subscription. The subscription's just in the future. A lot of people don't realize that. A subscription is like a magazine subscription. You don't get the current issue when you sign up. You get future issues. So there's a lot of confusion. So normally what you would have to do is you would have to save a search and subscription and then manually send the original results that you see right here to your client. What we're going to do is we're going to save a search and subscription and then use the portal. So the portal always has access to the original results, and then the subscription turns into like a reminder to go back into the portal. What I mean by that is once they've signed into the portal, they'll have a cookie in their browser. And so then when they receive a subscription email that says, hey, there's a new listing with those 7 bedrooms, they click on that. That logs them back into the portal. And then the portal starts to track the things that they've saved, that they've hidden, the things that they viewed. And we're going to focus that on in the second half of the class. So I just want to make sure we understand that, like, tier 1 of support. This is the manual email. You meet someone, maybe say at an open house. So like, yeah, I'm looking at this house. It's not really what I'm looking for. Can you send me some listings? You can manually send them. But the problem is you're going to have to continue to pay attention to those search parameters and then manually fire off more emails, which is not an efficient use of your time, especially because FlexMLS allows you to do other things. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump to the second tier of support. And what do I mean by that? That is the save search and subscription. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of work, and then we're going to have the system do the rest for us. And so what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to return back to my search results. Now, I said I was going to keep this very, very basic by just doing 7 bedrooms. And, you know, for a normal search, you would probably have an area, bedrooms, bathrooms, that kind of thing. I don't want this class to be focusing on the searching aspect because we covered that in advanced searching and in the super boot camp. I really want to focus just on the subscriptions aspect and the portal aspect so you understand how it can help you with your clients. Okay. So how do we save this search and subscription? Very, very simple. Instead of going to the email button, I'm going to go to the save button instead. So I'm going to click on save and click on save search. And so the save type will be new. I'm going to type in the name of my client. So Wicket W. Warwick is very insistent on his middle initial. 7 beds. And obviously if there was a certain area, I might say area of, you know, 283 or whatever. He just is interested in 7 beds anywhere in Space Coast. Now, what I'm going to do is go down to the contact section and you see a new or existing. Now, pay close attention to this. If you're doing a new client, you do see an option to turn on the portal and invite this customer to the portal. Now, Wicked, I just added him as a contact, so he's going to be existing. So when I switch to existing, you will notice that option is not there. So there's going to be a couple other places where you can add people to the portal, but it may make sense if you've just met someone to fill out their information and then do yes and invite this customer to the portal. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of doing it this way because they're going to end up receiving multiple emails, and we will go over what the emails look like, but they may get confused what all the different emails do. Because if you set them up with a subscription, they're going to get a email that says new listings, and they're going to have to click on a button that says, yes, please sign me up. But then they're also going to get a portal invitation email, and they're not going to understand the difference. You will as the realtor. So really what I like to do is, and what I've been focusing more on the training is start with the portal first. Let them log into the portal, and you can even walk them through the process. You know, it only takes a couple of minutes, and we will do that process in this class. So go through the portal with them. They play around with it. Then you start to look at the data that they are generating for you. Then in a few days, you reach out to them and say, hey, it looks like you're interested in some waterfront properties in like Indian Harbor and Melbourne Beach. Is that correct? Yeah, that's right. Okay, why don't I save a search and set up a subscription, an auto email for you that will notify you of new listings, price changes, status changes. So then you set up a few days later the search and subscription. Then there's a couple of days in between the emails. They're already more comfortable with the system, and then you can go from there. That's personally how I like to do it, but I just want to show you, if you want to do it all in one, basically combining, you know, the tier 2 and the tier 3 of support, you can go to this new option, fill out the information of their name and their email address, turn on the portal, yes, and then invite this customer to the portal. But I'm going to do it from contact management instead. And I will also show you how to do it from mobile. So let's go to existing. And I'm going to type in, so I had another one for my test account. So Wicket W. Warwick. And I do want to point out there is something called additional search options. Whenever you see a plus sign in FlexMLS, you can click on it. And so it has something that what events define a listing as new for this search. Basically, you have everything checked. I do recommend that because, especially if a very targeted search, they may be interested to see when there's extensions or open houses. And this gives you the option to do for the last 24 hours. And so which view would you like? I would just keep it with the residential. That's fine. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go to save and add subscription right here. Save and add subscription. So we're saving the search, but then we're also setting up this auto email or this drip system. So the system notifies my client every time there's a new listing, price change, status change, that kind of thing. Again, we're doing a little bit of work. Takes us about 5 minutes tops to set this up. then the system takes over. And that's what we want with the tier 2. The system does the work. So we're going to click on save and add subscription. Okay, so I do want to point out a couple of options here. Up at the top, it says send notification of new listings to you, the sender. I'm going to uncheck this because I don't need to see an email every time it gets fired off. I'm now able to track that stuff in contact management, and we're going to go much more in depth on that tomorrow in the contact management class. But you do want to get selected contacts, make sure that's checked. And then also send me an email when a contact clicks a link. I don't use this either anymore because the last few years Flex has evolved and they created something called contact activity, which will show you which clients are the most active. And when they're using the portal, it's going to show you, what they like, what they don't like, what they're viewing. So I find that is just unnecessary. I know as realtors, you receive so many emails anyways. So this is just one less thing to read. And again, we'll focus on this more on the contact management class tomorrow, but I will kind of show you what the data looks like once the client starts to generate the data. Now, I do want to point out something called enable preview mode. And if you see this question mark, it'll give you some information. So it says, preview mode allows you to approve listings before they are emailed to clients. Okay, what does this mean? Well, generally 99% of the time, you're not going to use this. But if you have a client that's really, really picky and you want to physically look at every single listing before it gets sent out to that person because, there's certain things they don't like and you don't have search parameters to, narrow that down. Let's say some people really hate aluminum siding or, blue houses or something. And well, you might not be able to search on stuff like that to narrow it down. So what preview mode does is that it will send you an email first and you actually have to do something with it. So this is very important. A lot of people will turn on preview mode and they don't realize what it is. So an email will go out to them every time there's a new search or a price change, status change, and they just don't do anything to it. So it's just waiting for them and those listings will not go out to their client. I will point out something. I'm going to open this up to a new tab. On your dashboard, with contacts, if you go to the 3 dots and go to settings, if you are using the preview mode, I highly recommend you do the listings to approve. I'm just going to remove a few things. Do listings to approve, because what you will do is you may see a number here that requires your attention that says, hey, Red Leader has 3 listings for me to approve. Until I click on them and approve them, I may decide, 2 of them are appropriate for him. Those listings aren't going out to the client. So make sure you're doing that. Okay. So let's go back to our original screen. So I'm happy with just the selected contacts and I see my contact is here. Now, if you're sending out subscriptions to multiple people, you can always click inside this box and add other people like, Leah or Luke. Well, if you add other contacts, it is a blind carbon copy. So each person gets what looks like their own email. They don't know that other people are on the email. So if you are like sending stuff up for investors or something like that, see whoever jumps on it first. Okay. Now, when we go down to schedule, we see that every day is checked by default. Every day is checked by default. So what that means is if you use the weekly, once a day, every day, listings will be fired out to your clients, assuming there are listings that meet the search parameters. Now, our search is just 7 bedrooms and we have only 11 results. So that might mean there's only a new listing once a week or price change once a week or less. So even though every day is checked, that doesn't mean they're going to receive an email every day. They might receive an email, once a week or once every 2 weeks. Whereas if you have, say, everything in Cocoa Beach and you have this checked, they're going to get one email a day, probably with multiple listings. So this is good to use if you have a very broad search. Now, another thing you can do is monthly, first day of each month. Usually what I do with this and how I explain this is a lot of times once people have sold a property to a client, they'll remove the search and subscription. And I tell realtors, don't do that. What you should do is switch it to monthly and do it once a month with their same search parameters. Or what you could do is you could do something in the subdivision or the area that they're working, and then end up doing a different email that says, this is what's going on in your neighborhood. Now, studies have shown something like 80% of clients would use their realtor again or refer their realtor to a friend or family member. But only something like 20% of clients actually remember the realtor's name. So you can either do this, or when I'm going to be doing the statistics in tomorrow's class, you can use stats reports that you send once a month or quarterly that shows people they like to know what's going on in their neighborhoods for for pricing, if the market's going up or down. And even like say with the portal, I find that a lot of realtors will leave the portal on for their clients, because some clients, like the HGTV types, they love to just search for houses even when they've already purchased one. But either the subscription or the portal, it is branded to you. They're using it with your name on it, so they're going to remember who you are. So when it comes to customer retention or referrals, keeping a subscription with them, even if it's just monthly, just a summation of, hey, in this subdivision in Melbourne, this is the activity that has been going on. They may not even look at it, but they're going to see that email and it's going to come from your name. So they're going to be more likely to remember who you are. Now, the other option that is really important, and this is probably the most commonly used one right now, is ASAP. And this is what it sounds like. When you turn this on, your client's going to receive an email for a new listing in about 10 minutes. It's purposely delayed for about 10 minutes because what happens is a lot of times realtors will make a listing live and then they have an oh crap moment and they say, oh, I forgot this, or I need to make this change. And so if it would go out immediately, that would generate 2 emails. So kind of dilute the effect. So they wait 10 minutes because most people can make that change in about 5 minutes. So then your client's going to receive, a new listing in 10 minutes. This is much faster than Zillow or other sites. With Zillow, like price changes, status changes, it could be hours, days, even weeks. And so once you understand the power of FlexMLS, you're going to want to get your clients into the portal, which we'll talk about later on, because it's just much better than those other sites. You want to get them away from Zillow, Redfin. I know I've talked with realtors and they say their clients will look at 5 different online sites at the same property to see if any of the data is incorrect or see if it's what's different, because they don't realize the MLS is the primary source of data. This is where the data is inputted. Now we'll go out to other sites, and some sites are pretty good about having accurate data, but especially in a hot market, there's no guarantee. If you're looking on Zillow or other sites and you see a property, it could already be closed, and it may have closed a week ago because they have millions and millions of listings. Okay, we're going to go down now to email content. And I do want to point out something a lot of people don't realize, which I think is a really cool option, is a lot of times people just type out information, but they don't realize you can actually create a template. So what I'm going to do is, I had one that says property with 7 bedrooms before when I was prepping, but I'm just going to call this listings for you. I want to keep this as generic as possible so I can use this for all of my clients. And the thing is they're going to see this email every single day, assuming, like they have a weekly search, there's a lot of listings, or they're going to see this with ASAP. They may see this multiple times a day. This is why you should be careful with the ASAP. Because if you have investors that are looking to buy up properties and you're working in an area where things are pending like the next day, ASAP makes a lot of sense. But if you have a first-time home buyer who is, a very, very broad search, hundreds of results, and you turn on ASAP, they're going to get 15, 20 emails because every individual price change or status change or new listing gets fired off. So they get those 20 or 25 emails, they're going to end up opting out of that subscription because it's too many emails. So ASAP is awesome when you have a targeted search. But with this template, I'm going to put in listings for you, and then I'm going to put in hi space comma. I'm not going to put in a name because I want to create a template. And then the next time I come to do a subscription, all I have to do is fill in that person's name and then click on save. So here are listings based on your search. Let me know if you want to schedule showing for any of these. Have a great day. Chewy. And we will take a look at what this email looks like as well. So I'm going to click on save. So what did we just do? We saved a search and subscription, and you'll notice now that there's a pop-up that says search and subscription saved. Would you like to? This is that reminder that, like I said before, these 11 results, these do not go out in a subscription. Again, these do not go out in a subscription. This is a reminder to email them now because the subscription is like a magazine subscription. You don't get the current issue, you only get future issues, where this is the same thing here. You do not get the current listings, you only get future listings. So if something later today is new, an hour from now, assuming your client has opted in the subscription, we'll go through that process as well. So I'm gonna ignore this. I'm gonna click on X because I'm gonna use the portal instead. When I save this search, it'll go into the portal. They'll have access to these 11 automatically in the portal, and then any of the new listings will show up in their news feed, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, when I'm talking about searches and subscriptions, especially subscriptions, I did talk about this a bit in other classes, but I want to go through it again because it is very important. The subscription process in FlexMLS, how it works is it is an opt-in process. What that means is when you send an email to your client, they physically have to click on the link to start the process. What's happened in the last couple of years is, Yahoo, Google, a lot of these email providers have really started to crack down on spam, or tried to. And so FlexMLS sends millions of emails with, these subscriptions, and they would go into these things called spam traps. And so it would make FlexMLS look like it is a spammer. FlexMLS is not a spammer. But what that means is it would start to block emails. They would start to bounce. And so FlexMLS pays a lot of money to ensure, they have like 99% accuracy on your emails getting delivered. And the one thing that they had to do is create an opt-in process. You cannot fire off subscription emails to your clients until they physically say, yes, it is okay to send me that. Now, there are two ways to opt into a subscription. One, if they click on any of the manual emails you send, that automatically opts them in for any future subscriptions. That doesn't mean when they click on a manual email that creates a subscription, but it'll opt them into any future subscriptions. Or if they go to a subscription, they set up the subscription, your client receives that email that says, yes, please send me listings. Then they click on that, that will opt them in. So how does an opt-in process work? Well, if you've ever opted into anything like advertisements for, like say, Bass Pro Shops, at the bottom of the email, you're always going to see something that says, to unsubscribe, please click here. FlexMLS has to provide that option so your clients can get out of those subscriptions. And you may notice that your clients are more likely to opt out if they're doing that ASAP. Those emails that get fired off for each individual listing, every price change, status change, new listing. So that's usually when people will opt out. But the opt-in process is going to work for 13 months. How that means is the subscription is set up for 13 months. It will work for 13 months. After 13 months, if your client has not clicked on any emails, FlexMLS makes that subscription, it makes it inactive, because, you know, if more than a year they're not clicking on things, they're probably not your client. But if they click on an email any point in that 13 months, it'll extend it for another 13 months. So that is a really cool process. So how do we check this to make sure this all looks good? Well, if you go into the opt-in status report, and when I talked about this before, I highly recommend making this, you know, a weekly thing. It only takes you a couple of minutes, say a Thursday afternoon or a Friday morning. You want to make sure that your clients are receiving those emails. When you go to that tier 2 of support, you know, that save, search, and subscription, you are no longer doing the work. You're asking the system to do the work. And when it fires off the subscription, the system is doing the work. But if your client hasn't opted in, then there is no subscription. So I'll show you what I mean. So when you go in the opt-in status report, we see a summary, which will just kind of show you some basic information. But what I do is once a week is I go through and go into each individual tab. Again, it only takes a couple minutes to see what's going on. So if you're checking this once a week, you will see that people are pending. Well, so this was just the test before my prep, but this is Wicket, who we just sent one to, you know, not too long ago, a couple minutes. And then Leah in my class yesterday. Well, her days pending is only 1. I'm fine with that. But if you're checking this once a week and you notice someone's been pending for, you know, 5, 6, 7 days, what that means is your original subscription email went out. Because they didn't click on it or do anything with it, any new listings, price changes, they were supposed to go out, but because your client hasn't done anything, your client did not receive them. So what you want to do is you want to check this, you know, once a week to make sure, hey, your client has opted into that process. Now you can always resend the request right here, or you could just call up your client and say, hey, you know, did you receive that email? I'm going to resend the request. And you're able to do this one time. Now, this Wicket I'm not worried about because, you know, again, I just did this. Now, undeliverables, if you have any email addresses where you typed in something incorrectly or it bounces, this is going to tell you in this section. Confirmed, this is what you want to see. You want to see people who have confirmed. Now, Red Leader, for a couple days ago, I set him up, and the days until inactive, this number starts to drop until this person has started to click on any links. And the last time they click on a link, it says last click in subscription email. It'll show the timestamp. This is why I don't track anymore when I set up the subscription. Notify me when the client has clicked on the link, because this will tell me right here. And I don't have to have all email for each individual client. It's all going to be right here on my screen. Now the opted out process right here, that is, again, if the person down at the bottom of the email, it says to unsubscribe, please click here. That's, if they click on that, it will opt them out. You're going to receive an email that they've opted out, but we're busy, you may miss it. So if you're checking this once a week, you'll see that they've opted out. And then inactive, this is the person who has not clicked on a link in 13 months. It will give you an option to restart the subscription. But if they're not clicking links in 13 months, you know, again, they're probably not your client or no longer interested. So for the last few minutes of the part 1, what we're going to do is we're going to go to take a look at a couple of these emails, what they look like. Okay. So I've sent some emails to Wicket. This is the manual email. It says listings and says here are the 7-bedroom listings we talked about. Now, if he clicks on this link right here, this will opt him into the subscription process, you know, for future subscriptions if I hadn't done a subscription. So we say click to view the listings. I'm going to open this new tab. Now, I purposely am showing this in a mobile format because your client is most likely going to be looking at these things on their phone. And now this is switched to a full screen, so I'm just going to do, you'll notice that this screen is mobile responsive. So it's very big because it's on a laptop, or if it was a tablet, but I'm going to switch it to responsive design. There. So this is what they would probably see. These are the 11 listings, but your client has not logged in the portal yet. Now the next email, let's look at, is new listing updates from Jeff. And let me actually load the image. So this is my subscription email. It says new listing updates from Jeff White. It says we're excited to be helping you with your real estate needs. To get started, please confirm you want to receive new subscription updates by clicking the button below. This is the button that has you opt into the subscription. This is what your client does that says, yes, I want a subscription email. Now, ideally, if you're with the client, have them pull up their email and just walk them through the process so you know for sure. You don't have to worry about them being pending for a week or two. So I'm going to say, yes, please send me listings. And once they've done that, it's going to bring them to a screen that says, just thank you, your account has been confirmed. And so now what it means is they're going to be good for those 13 months. Okay, so I'm just going to spend a couple minutes of review, and then we'll stop this recording. I'll start up the next recording for part 2. Okay, so what did we do? Well, we did a basic search for a client, and we were doing the 7 bedrooms for Wicked Warwick. And we did email. This is the manual email. This is that tier 1 of support. You are doing all the work. You're firing off whatever listings there are, but this means you have to do it again and again and again. That's not ideal. It's making you do more work that is necessary. The tier 2 of support, and I really do recommend this as like the minimum, is you go to save search, and you're going to save this search and add a subscription. So the subscription is the auto email or the drip system. Once they've opted in, and I just showed you that button that says, yes, please send me listings, that is the opt-in process. They will start to receive subscription emails. And so you want to do this as a minimum because it's going to take you a couple minutes to set up the subscription, but now FlexMLS is doing the work for you. New listings get fired off in about 10 minutes. Status changes and price changes in about 2 to 5 minutes. So you want to make sure you're doing this at least. And then what we did finally is we went into the opt-in status report. Because you're having FlexMLS do the work with the subscription, you want to make sure your clients are actually doing stuff. Now we noticed that, okay, 2 contacts are confirmed. Wicked just opted in. So he's no longer under the pending opt-in. Again, this one at the Mailinator, that was just a test account when I was doing prep for this class. But if we go into confirmed, we see now that he's confirmed, and he actually clicked on a subscription email. He did click on an email, that the original manual. So this shows he is clicking on stuff. So I don't do the please send me a email when my client has clicked on the link anymore. Okay, so in part 2, we will go over the portal.